Hi, Cosmic Warriors. I'm Candy, your decision guide, and this is my sister in in the cosmos, Deborah, and she is an astrological. Um, I would say she's an astrological teacher at this point because she has been studying vigorously and she comes to us at the center that I go to and she gives us the astrological forecast of what's going on. So those of you who are not as familiar with astrology, because I do a lot of tarot and I used to do astrology on one of my other channels, but it didn't get a lot of views because people think it's quite boring. So when you're presenting astrology, you have to really, make it interesting for people who don't really understand what's going on. But think of astrology as the weather forecast. So if you're trying to say, okay, do I need to carry an umbrella? You look at the weather forecast for how to dress. Sometimes they'll say it's going to rain and it doesn't always rain. And that's how astrology can be. Some people feel certain influences more than others, but it's really good to know in general how these influences work together. So those of you who know I'm an astrologer first, I'm a tarot reader second. Astrology is my first love. It is the thing that connected me to the universe as well as myself, and it helps me have compassion for other people, accept other people. It dropped all race, it dropped all politics, it dropped everything for me so that I could really see things in its purest form. So I'm going to let Deborah share some things about herself personally because you'll see her again. And I'll also let her bring us into what's going on astrologically. Those of you who know, I do the theme for the year, and on this particular video you can look down and I'll put a link for the theme for 2020. I want you to go and look at that as well. It's going to tie into the things that Deborah is saying, and I'll also reiterate from the tarot um, perspective as well in this video. So Deborah, thank you for coming, and I appreciate you adding your knowledge to the Astro Tarot community. And this is all about alignment. So as you present, I'll be also thinking of just how my audience can get in alignment with what you're going to share with us.
Okay. Hello, everyone. As Candy said, my name is Deborah, and I'm really excited about the invitation of actually coming on to share because astrology has just actually helped me so much in number one, relating to who I am and bringing out the best in me, and then also being able to relate to people in such a way that I can hear who they are based on, the different, the zodiac, just that simple, the zodiac. And I was interested in it, and I actually did level one through applied astrology with Deborah Silverman. And that's where I got it started. And then we were able to do the natal charts, the birth charts. And so then I just started digging and digging and digging and finding out. And I was like, wow, this is really some powerful, um, it's a different intelligence. It's different in the education that we've known, and it is just tapping into a whole brand new part of who we are and why we're here. When we know why we're here, then we can do what it is that we need to do. And I've found out through astrology that has made that possible. And as Candy has said, I just started looking at what's coming forth from 2020. And at the beginning of the year, just took just a wide scope of how the planets were arranged in the sign. And I mostly just kind of looked at what was going on with Capricorn because that's always the first point of the planets when it's coming in, and we can take a look at it. So 2020, we know everybody is saying that that's uh, a good years that we can actually take a look that it's 2020 vision. And so what I've looked at is just adding the sum up of 2 and 2, which equals 4. And 4, it's all about the heart. It's all about foundation. It's all about relationship. It's all about family. So it's about relationships. That's basically what this year is about. And the first part that we look at is ourselves, and then from there we can look at partnerships. So the arrangement that was the way the planets were in Capricorn, of course the sun was there, and then you had the moon that was in Pisces. Wow. And Pisces is all about spirituality, and it's water. It's about the emotions. It's about the feelings. It's about going deep. It's about secrets, things that, we've held on to. That's one thing about our society. It's been a very secretive society, and that's age old. But now it takes water to be able to bring things to the surface so that we can deal with them on an earth plane perspective. And that's what the Capricorn energy is all about. And then at that time, too, Mercury was in Capricorn. That's our communication, how we're talking, what are we saying, the news, what are we saying to each other. And it's actually empowering us to become better communicators so that our relationships will become better. When it comes to relationships, and we're talking about twos, 2 is balancing. And so when you look at the 2 plus the 2 with the 4, that means that we're going to have even more balancing in our relationships. So that's something forward to look forward to in our relationships. And it talks about also if this year is an opportunity for us to if you're single, like myself and like many others, if you're looking to get into a relationship, it's just like the atmosphere, the universe is saying this is going to be a good year for it. Because anybody knows that if you don't have communication in a relationship, you don't
Yeah.
even have a relationship.
Hmm.
And then there is Jupiter. Jupiter was there and still is. And when I say Jupiter is big, it's all about expansion. And so, expansion in relationships, expansion in anything, Jupiter makes that thing big. So, we're going to talk about that some more too. And the other thing is Saturn and Pluto. They're there. Saturn is the timekeeper, and Pluto is all about us transforming. Things are really going to take shape in what we've been working on, and that thing is going to transform. That's manifestation all day long. And
Hmm.
backing up a little bit to Saturn, Saturn is all about the death and the rebirth, and it can actually literally mean death as well. So there will be people that will be life, mortality taking its place as it does. But then again, it's the deeper things that are actually dying off, and then new things are coming forth. And so it's at an exponential momentum that it's having, all this energy that's gathered up and around us. And so it's like quantum time, that everything is speeding up and it's on our side. That's a good thing. So we can rest assured. And then when we look at the overall scope of our country, the USA, the United States, their birth chart is Cancer. That's where they are. And as we were talking about the number four is about Cancer. And so those things that concern us about our country, these things, just hold on. That's all I can say to you, is just hold on, because many truths are coming out. When I talked about the Pisces and uh, bringing those secrets, all those hidden things that have been hidden are now going to come to the surface. So there's going to be a lot of governmental things happening in 2020. So don't get discouraged, don't get disheartened. just hang in there. Things are going to change. And as we expound more, I think you're going to feel pretty good about this year. I do.
Yeah.
Candy?
Yeah, I do. I feel good about this year because I think what's going to happen is those times when we are hesitant about doing things, we're going to be pushed.
I agree.
And when that happens, it's almost like, okay, we've had the swimming lessons in the year of the three,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's time to jump off the diving board and swim.
Yes.
And when we do that, I know it came to me to say details will be worked out in action.
Oh, wow.
So when we jump off the diving board, because we've never done it, whatever this is, because a lot of people in this year are putting their dreams out here for the first time.
True.
We've been in stage one forever, stage two forever, and we've held ourselves back a lot because we either felt like we didn't have the support, or we felt like people weren't ready, or we felt like we weren't ready. We always made these excuses. Now we are not able to get away with that.
True.
And so as we swimming across, there are going to be things that we've never encountered before.
Mm-hmm.
But the details will be worked out with each stroke as we swim across the pool. It's going to be like, oh, wow, I never knew that. I didn't know if I turned my head this way that I could get air. Oh, okay. So, oh, I never knew that when I felt myself sinking, all I had to do was kick my feet a little bit more,
Yeah.
So that's what it feels like to me. Like finally we get to work out the prototype, because in the year of the five that's coming up next year, everything that we don't get right with this prototype, tweaking it. See, so we get across, we take in what we can use, we throw away what we can't use. So when the year of the five comes, that's the testing. That's going to be the sifting. Whatever we didn't let go of as we're tweaking in the four and walking in our truth, those of you who go back and look, this is about walking in truth with emotional responsibility.
Yeah.
So as we walk in truth, it's going to be, are you really remaining true? Because when you walk in truth and then you run into something that you have to tweak or get away or get rid of, sometimes we don't want to do that.
Right.
So if you say, I'm manifesting a partner shows up that's not really the partner for you, you may feel obligated to keep that person in your life because you're saying, I manifested it. But if you keep that in the four and you think you're going to go into the five, it will be shaken. And then you're going to say, oh, well, why didn't that work out? Why didn't that work out? Well, you weren't really walking in your truth because you didn't want to let it go. In order to walk in your truth, you have to remain unattached.
Right.
Because the truth is constantly evolving and the
Yes.
realities are constantly crumbling. And so I put together the same way I did on the video, the actual correspondent cards that Deborah's talking about. So you have your Capricorn card, you have your Devil card. Now, when we see the Devil, we always have this feeling like, oh my God, the Devil card, what does that mean? Well, the Devil card is all about attachment and feeling
Yes.
bound by something. And in order to break away from that attachment, you have to grab hold to things that you're not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So the Devil card simply are things that we're comfortable in. So really when people are afraid of the devil, they are actually afraid of the very things that they're embracing.
Exactly.
Because the devil is representative of Capricorn, and Capricorn is cardinal earth, which is as secure as you can get. It's an anchor.
Yes.
And with the devil card, you see there's a lot of anchoring here, almost to the point where you feel like you cannot break away from something. And so with the fact that we have Pluto here, like what you were talking about,
Mm.
I'm going to let you go into Pluto and tell how Pluto is here to help us break out of those conditioned realities. And I'll let you go ahead and do that.
It does just that. Pluto is that energy. When we say that we want to change, and change is inevitable anyway, we're changing whether we know it or not. But transformation is it's metaphysical, it's spiritual, because we're all mission minded when we come to the earth. It's just that conditioning has kind of got that crossfire. But Pluto is that energy that says, okay, you're ready to transform, so I'm going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we can say that the invisible is there helping us, that energies that's back there. And we're thinking that, nothing is going on in the backdrop and we're not getting anything
Mm-hmm.
accomplished, but it helps to shape us.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us to let go of the things that we don't want to let go of, and we don't know that we don't want to let go of.
Right.
So when we say that things are for our highest good, or all things work together for our good, we really don't know what that is. But that Pluto energy, it knows it. It was like, yep, I've been waiting on you to say that. And so when it has our willingness is our agreement.
That's right. That's
And then
right.
it gets in there. And so it's like sloughing off the skin. Like when a snake takes its skin off, it has to slough a rock to get it off. It has. And so Pluto does that for us. It undresses us from the conditions that we've did, whether it's from childhood, finances, work,
That's right.
all relationships. It doesn't leave any relationship off. And so it's transforming that thing into the brilliance, the divine persons that we are. So that's what it's bringing forth, our brilliance from the love source, which some people call God. I do. Love source, big source, and just the best that there is that cares for all of us. Does it feel good? It depends on us. It depends on us. Feeling good is a choice. And tapping into, because Pluto doesn't care about feelings.
Right.
If it cared about feelings, then our transformation would never take place. We would remain stagnant and we would get old and just die.
Right. Right.
We would just die. But its main suit is to bring the rebirth forth so that we can live from the highest of the beings that we are.
Turn that light on over there. I think it might be getting dark. It gets dark so quick now. That's true. And the thing about Pluto, that's the judgment card. So when we talk about judgment, a lot of the times when we talk about judgment, that can be quite scary.
Yeah.
But in this case, with Pluto being about transformation and then that judgment card coming up, with the judgment card, it's about resurrecting things from the past that we've buried.
Exactly.
And Pluto does that so well. So if you think about Pluto, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio,
Right.
which is a water planet, but Pluto is the co-ruler of Mars. So it's fire. So that's lava.
Ooh.
So if you think about lava and how it purifies the earth, and it can penetrate because the water opens up and then the lava goes in and it just brings the earth up. It purifies. So when we talk about judgment and Pluto, there are a lot of things that we have suppressed.
True.
That Pluto is like, okay, it's time to resurrect. Okay, there it is. It's time to resurrect that,
Yep.
you know. And I might need my bigger cards because these are small. So it's like it's time to resurrect that. And that's happening. Resurrected. And when
Yes.
it's resurrected, guess who corrects it? The devil.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you when you think of the devil and you think of the Capricorn energy and you think of Pluto pulling up the things that we thought that we could actually hide.
Yes.
So that's everything from childhood to um, the things that we feel bad about within ourselves to how other people feel about us.
Mm-hmm.
That resurrects it too. We were
Yes, it
just talking
does.
about betrayal, and I noticed, like in a lot of readings, the truth and crumbling realities has been happening
Mm-hmm.
where people who thought that people were on their side have been revealed that they're not really on their side.
Right.
And that is the energy of the devil and judgment working together. Pluto bringing it up and the devil making you aware of what's going on and the fact that you've been bound by that false thought. Now that the truth is here, you got to figure out how to release those shackles, pull away from it, because the devil is just pressuring you to release yourself from the devil so that you can use that energy to fine tune what you need. Because we talk about the devil being in the details.
Yes.
Well, now you can really see the picture for what it is, and you can utilize that energy.
So true.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Deborah Silverman the other day when she was doing her daily astrological forecast for whatever day it was, and she was describing the Capricorn, and because Capricorn, of course, is one of the cardinals, and she was saying that Capricorn people, they're the directors. In other words, so when something needs to be cut out of the movie or that's too long, but no, you needed to do a different way. Well, you might not be the actor
Mm-hmm.
that's in there or you're not playing that right part. It's that part that says, well, here's your walking papers. I can no longer use you. Or it brings out the very best. You're starring in your own movie.
Right.
And one beautiful thing also about the Capricorn, because it's the 10th house, that's where the laws and the authorities energy is. And so when we talk about truth and bringing those beliefs and laws that we have bound ourselves with, there's that devil card there to say, all right, let's look at this judgment thing. How have you been judging yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Have you
Mm-hmm.
been too critical of yourself? So it comes to examine
Mm-hmm.
all of those things that we have discipled ourselves by. And it's like, it really bounds us and limits us. And so because when it comes to earth signs, it can be very limiting because you can either be too practical or not practical enough.
That's true.
And again, that's what these twos are all about,
Balance.
so that we can come in and align and be balanced in life. And when we're balanced, it feels so healthier. In other words, it's when things are light and heavy, it's lighter all day long.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I mean, go ahead. I was just looking over here at this energies as you were talking.
And one thing, and I have a sheet here, this is about Pluto being a generational
Yeah.
planet.
Mhm.
And so it's just so amazing that it is. It's still a planet in astrology. It means many of the people in the age group are born under the same sign.
That's
And
right.
I just want to read the one in regards to Pluto being in Capricorn so that we can kind of get a glimpse of what the collective energy
That's right.
looks like, since Pluto was right there and still is.
Mm-hmm.
So it just says, in many lifetimes, you're experiencing too much and too little maturity, structure, discipline, and organization when it comes to the activities and parts of life indicated by your native Pluto house. Whatever is important that you accomplish, you might bring a rigid attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Rigid now, that says a lot. To make sure you push through and achieve it. Through one lens, you're in need of proving that you're worth being put in charge of something, or at minimum, that you're competent to run your own life. You might have an eagle eye critique of authority figures who won't or don't give you a chance to prove that you can measure up to external standards and competencies, or who carry flaws and blind spots about their own worth as authority figures. The worst thing for you to include is to be shamed for not being perfect yet, carrying human vulnerability that seems to get in the way of achievement, or not being tough enough for whatever task is in front of you. The best things for you include giving yourself a chance to grow into responsibility, maturity, and competence over time, and owning the authority. I
Mm-hmm.
like that part right there.
Right.
Owning the
Owning the
authority to run your life and be your own boss
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
some way. And it was amazing because today I was standing in the mirror and I was taking ownership of that word boss.
Oh yeah, really? Wow,
Yeah.
that's
And
a
I
good
was
idea.
like,
Yeah.
because India Ari, when she in one of her songs, she talks about the partner that's just right for her because she's a boss in her world.
Yeah.
And so, and I thought about that and I said, you have to have someone who understands what that is to
Mm-hmm.
be able to relate to you and not shrink back from being that you are.
Right.
And
Right.
there's a good way to be a boss, and then not that domineering,
Yeah.
um
Take
crack
over.
whip, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like some people describe God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like that at all.
Right.
Okay, a chance to grow into responsibility, maturity, and competence over time, and owning the authority to run your life and be your own boss in some way. You're here to learn to become the right kind of adult, parent, boss, manager, builder, or leader. Don't let self criticism and second guessing yourself stop you.
Okay. Don't let self-criticism and second guessing yourself stop you. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that I'm the North Node. My personal North Node is in Pisces. Um, but North Node, the way it's placed um, right now astrologically, is in Capricorn, and the South Node is in Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So that is emotional responsibility.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have to be emotionally responsible. Okay, so I'm Gemini. I talk with my hands a lot, and
I'm
I try
Cancer and I
not
do too.
to.
It's okay. We can wave to the world.
I try not to because they say when you talk with your hands, people don't take you seriously. That's what
But you
I've
know what?
heard.
Who is
You know,
they? We're going to break their laws today. We talking about breaking rules. So, hey, we might as well talk with your hands.
talk
I
with
do
my
too.
hands. So, when we talk about relationships, because I do a lot of relationship readings, everybody is waiting for a partner to act right, or a partner to come, or a partner to do this or to do that. What are they doing next with them? And they're pulling themselves out of their own energy.
Yeah.
And what I try to convey with being aligned in astrology and tarot and using those as tools to align yourself with the universe is that as long as you're thinking about what they're doing, you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
And I mean, we've all done it. I mean, that's not something that I'm
It's
not
not
guilty
rocket
of.
science. No.
Yeah, I'm
No.
not guilty of that,
Right.
but I'm aware of it so that when we're in the year of the four, where we're supposed to be diving in the water and swimming. Think about it when Peter was walking on the water, the moment he took his eyes off of the I am,
Yeah.
which is in you, he began to drown. And so a lot of people are feeling like they're drowning, but it's only because they're forgetting who they are while trying to insert this other person that doesn't even belong in that space.
Absolutely.
You know, and so this is a perfect time to allow Pluto to come in and sweep that away, because um we have Cancer. um okay, so no, here we go. Here's what I'm trying to pull aside here. We have Venus, speaking of love, and Neptune, speaking of sacrifice, in Pisces together. That's going to be the Empress, which represents Venus, and then the Hangman, which represents Pisces. Now, this said a lot because if Neptune represents sacrifice and Venus represents love, they're right next to each other. So that means we're going to have to sacrifice what we think we love, and we're going to have to allow Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter come in and rearrange what the universe knows is going to allow reciprocity to come in.
Yes.
Because we can get so caught up in what we think we love. I love this, I love that, I want this, I want that. And it doesn't bring any reciprocity.
What's the use?
It's no good. It's dead. And so we have to sacrifice what we think we believe is bringing us this love. And the universe is at a perfect spot to have Saturn bring in the reality of the truth of what the aligned love looks like. So love in alignment is something that I think focusing on this year is going to be really key. And the only way I think it can be aligned is by us focusing on who we are. Because when we were saying someone who loves us for us, if we're not living fully in us, we're not going to be able to attract someone who loves us for us.
It'll
right?
be the same old, same old.
It'll be the same thing.
And I just can't see how, with all these energies that's backing us, that we can remain that same. So when you've got Venus that's in Pisces, this planet of beauty, the sign of beauty, it creates, it makes everything so special and can create things. And then you got Neptune, it's the great dissolver. It's like it tears down that illusional world when it's functioning at that high place. But when we're just right here, you stay delusional.
Right.
You refuse to face the fact that, I'm attracting whatever it is that I don't want.
Right.
Well, you have to dig deep to find what it is that you're attracting that you don't want. And until you know what you find out what you don't want, you're not going to really know what you do want, because you're going to continue to get what you don't want. I've been a professional of it.
I mean, we all have.
Yes. So that just, it's tearing all that.
It's tearing it down.
Yeah, it's peeling back so that we can see the truth, as you said, because the realities have been very delusional and they've been very disappointing. So many people have broken hearts because they've been set up for the okie doke and they've fallen for it. But this year is so different because we've already started the work on the realities, and now it's like having that single eye, that singular, we are becoming one with ourselves. And now we can walk on water without looking down so soon.
Right.
And then we can realize, oh my goodness, I've looked down, and guess what? There's the energy of the earth again to say, get on back up there, walk some
Mhm.
more, go
Mhm.
further. And
Mhm.
so we're going further than we thought. In other words, it's not as scary as we thought it was or as others told us.
Right.
We now know what
Right.
the function of the devil is.
Exactly. 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 And the function is to assist us on this journey.
Say it again.
So when people say
Yes.
get rid of the devil,
Oh
stomp the
no.
devil out, um, and once you understand what that devil energy is all about,
Right.
and the only time it becomes bad is when we believe the lies we tell ourselves.
Exactly.
And then we activate that energy, and then it goes on and on and on and on and on, and then we blame it on the devil when the devil didn't do it. So it's like one day it was raining. You know how they say, oh, well, I can tell it's going to rain because
This
my joints
hurts.
start
Hmm.
hurting, right? Well, Saturn rules the skeletal system. It also rules the skin. And so if you think of that devil energy, it's like when it rains, wherever you have inflammation, it's going to be illuminated.
Wow.
So it's like, as small as it is, I have a little bit of arthritis in my or something. I'm not going to claim, but I have a little inflammation here in my first finger, my index finger. And I'm just now catching on that every time it rains, whenever I'm pressing something, it hurts so bad.
Wow.
And instead of claiming that as, oh well, I have arthritis, that would be taking the devil energy and using it to my negative.
Right.
To use it to a positive would be to say, oh, I have some inflammation in my body
Hmm.
and I need to eat better. Maybe I need more turmeric. Maybe I need to get off sugar. Maybe I need to exercise more.
Right.
That's what the devil is there for, to help you discipline yourself so that you can align yourself in a way that when it rains next time, your knee won't hurt and your fingers won't hurt, your joints won't hurt. That's the devil energy to good use, rather than saying, oh, the devil is making my finger hurt. That's how we've been using it. The
Hmm.
devil is making my knees hurt. The devil gave me cancer. The devil took my lover away. Well, your lover left because there was an adjustment that you needed to make.
Yes.
Your lover's staying away from you because there's something in you that's repelling your lover from coming to you. And once you look at what you need to do to change your diet mentally, physically, and spiritually, then everything you want is going to come to you.
Yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
part of and when we talk about discipline, we're not talking about slapping your hands every time you hit the wrong note.
Right.
We're talking about when it rains and something on you hurts, for you to say, oh, I need to adjust my diet.
Right.
And that's going to take discipline because maybe you've been eating cheesecake for the last week. And when it rained, it just really, really illuminated this time,
Hmm.
because it has happened where I've been on a clean eating diet and it rains, it gets damp, and I don't feel anything
Wow.
because I've done my work all along. But when you talk about Saturn return and you talk about all of these things in Saturn energy, when it rains, when your lover leaves, when you gain weight, when you lose a job, anything that happens, it's just time for an alignment.
That's right.
And so take that devil energy, flip it, and use it, because there's no other planet more powerful than Saturn when you make friends with it. And some of the things that they say you can do is feed crow on Saturday. You can, because Saturday is ruled by Saturn, and the crow is a Saturn bird. So take some of the meanings and research some of the meanings of Saturn. And the only reason I say do those things is because I'm not real big on rituals for ritual's sake, but I am big on rituals when people need to be snapped out of certain things. So if there's something that you need to snap your thinking out of, a ritual is a good way to take the mind, the body, and do something different, create a new pathway. And then after a while, you will be such a natural at it. So if you say, I'm going to feed crow on Saturday, after a while, you start to understand that energy. That energy comes to you. You have a better attitude about it. It's not necessarily about feeding the crow. It's
Mm-hmm.
just about your thought and your energy when you're actually engaging with Saturn energy, that it's going to just open you up to it,
I agree.
you know.
Mm-hmm. And
Sorry.
one big event that all the astrologers were talking about was the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto. And the conjunction is just when planets are 5 degrees within each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody was like waiting for this to happen because it was going to be this big event. And so I started doing some research, and I was like, what in the world are they talking about? It's like this phenomenon because it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've been together, but they haven't been in that close
Right.
proximity together. And so there's so many videos on the internet in regards to the big phenomenon that was happening. In January the 12th, if I make no mistake, was the time when they had the stellium together, when all
Mm-hmm.
this is. But the biggest thing was the Pluto and the Saturn. And I found this article that was written by this person, Gray Crawford, and I'm going to read it so that when you see how these two are co-joined, because in the conjunction, it's like they each kind of like take on each other's
Mm-hmm.
personalities. So can
Mm-hmm.
you just imagine that in a relationship? And that goes to when people say, well, dang, she completed the rest of my sentence,
Right.
or he was thinking what I was thinking, or we called each other at the same time. That's a conjunction
Right.
all day
Right.
long. And you
Mm-hmm.
love those attributes. So these two powers together, I just want us to think about this coming together and how it impacts all of us, the individual and the collective, meaning our whole world. Nobody's left out.
Right.
Nobody's left out.
Right.
Listen to this. It says, when Saturn and Pluto meet, their proximity constellates a period of intensified tension, constraint, and division in collective events. While societal structures decay and break down, there's room to begin building new forms and foundational elements in their place. Yet, if we wish to endure the test of Saturn and Pluto, we must descend within to explore our inner shadow and unconscious complexes rather than overly focusing on external achievement.
Mm-hmm.
In combination, Saturn and Pluto bring the gravity of graveyards and necessary confrontations with culture and personal issues we can no longer deny or resist. Pluto amplifies the contraction of Saturn, separating the essential from the non essential in the face of obstruction, honing our awareness of whatever we wish to determinedly develop with the time and space available to us.
Mm.
Saturn and Pluto have spent 2019 at the end of their cycle that began in 1982, 1983. And as they have moved direct and retrograde within range of a conjunction, they have dredged up old personal patterns
Mm-hmm.
and cultural material that we need to address, integrate, contemplate, or clear out. When they formed their first exact conjunction at 23 degrees of Capricorn on January the 12th, 2020, they will initiate a new cycle, shifting the emphasis into forging new forms and structures that support the purpose we have cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing easy about dealing with experiences related to Saturn and Pluto, but the cathartic intensity they force us to endure aids in developing inner focus, determination, and courage. I can always use a cup
Yeah.
of courage.
Yeah.
At
That's the
times,
strength.
mhm, At times, we must resiliently persist in the face of opposition. At other times, we must learn to surrender to elements of life out of our control and nurture feelings of grief caused by loss. If we sustain effort through the challenges by the end of 2020, we will have made significant progress towards major life goals and put new supportive structures in place that will endure for a long time.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
That's like having something to look forward to. It's like getting a letter in the mail with good news. You know what I'm saying? Not always saying, okay, well, what kind of junk mail is in the mailbox today? Or what kind of bill is in the mailbox, or something you weren't expecting. And you take this out that the universe has said, this is what you can expect for the overall thing for the year. And take it in chunks. Don't try to take that whole, because that's like eating an elephant right there.
Yes, it is.
You have to like get the tail first.
Right.
Crunch on that a little bit, you know, and then begin to break it down little by little, because we have to be mindful, since 4 is creativity. Be mindful of what we're creating, because we're always creating. And if we are not creating something with purpose, we're creating monsters.
You really are. I've created a few. I've created a few.
When I say.
And that is, you do that when you get a hold of something and you put your spin on it, rather than looking at it and saying, universe, before I touch this, is this for me?
Right.
And when the universe says, no, that's not for you, it's tempting to say, I'm going to make it for me. That's your monster.
Yes.
Because now you have a hybrid. You have something that was not for you that you put yourself into. So when that monster raises up, you see yourself and you see your not self.
Yes.
And then you don't want to kill it because you have to kill a part of yourself.
Exactly. And
but you created it.
To feed too.
Yeah.
They greedy.
So we've got to kill these monsters that we've created.
Yes.
And we don't have to do it by ourselves. We have the forces of the universe here saying, okay, what do you want us to get rid of?
Yes.
And you just say, oh, I don't need that anymore. And they say, we'll sweep it away.
Yes.
I don't need that anymore. We'll sweep it away. Now, when it comes to love, because you have what we talked about here with Neptune, these are illusions a lot of the times when you're talking about Neptune energy. But when you talk about the hangman and how that hangman is waiting for that enlightenment, that light around the head is so that you can actually see through what's going on.
That's good.
Through those rose-colored glasses of Neptune. The problem is that when we are in hangman mode, people want to mess with you.
Yeah.
Hangman mode is, I'm not dating right now, and I have to speak to my love people because most of my readings are love readings. I'm not dating right now. I'm waiting for my life partner.
Yeah.
People want you more. You're in hangman mode. I'm busy working on my career, and I don't really want to bring anything new into my life until people want you more. People are just pulling on you. People who, even friends. Oh, come on, that's good. And you're like, I really don't want to hang around those people. But if you come out of that hangman mode before that enlightenment hits, then there's Neptune there, and there you are saying, well, you're fixing it up.
Yeah.
It won't hurt this time. Oh, well, I haven't been out in a while. I guess I need to go out. Oh, well, and then it turns into the monster.
Yeah, it is, and it's the appeasing.
The appeasing.
Yeah, definitely the appeasing. And then, of course, we know that Pisces is all about escapism too.
Right.
And so those things, when we are letting go, they don't want to go. They
No.
don't want to go. They become our escapism, meaning addictions to. And
Right.
again, it's not the yeah, those things that we are bound
Yeah.
to, and we don't know that it's not in our highest best interest to
Mm-hmm.
remain to it. One thing that I love, and I have it like right where I can keep it as a reminder to me. The Buddhism is all about attachments bring suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when we take that deep perspective look in, because we're always perceiving to know. And one thing I think that we think is our knowing is so limited. We think that that's all that we know. But
Right.
there is so much that is being uncovered. And like you said, the rose colored glasses, they're coming off,
Yeah.
and we are seeing things for the truth. And there's always more truth and more truth and more truth. And when we can receive that, we can, our whole space begins to broaden out, and the limitations of what we've put on ourselves
Mm-hmm.
because we needed to appease, because we have always been taught separation. And so it's like we hang on to, oh my God, I'm going to be by myself. No, don't leave me. No. So we would rather have the monster
Right.
than have nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people choose the monster. A
Yes.
lot of people choose the monster, and they don't realize that, again, in choosing to go this route and using it from a negative standpoint, up comes a lot of
Yeah.
illnesses.
Oh my.
Up comes a
Dis-ease.
lot of disease. Up comes your asthma. Up comes your eczema. Up comes your rheumatoid arthritis. Up comes blood clots.
Uh,
Um, I noticed a lot of people be getting embolisms lately, pulmonary embolisms. People have been dying in their sleep of brain embolisms where they're getting
mm,
these clots. And that can definitely happen if we think about when Pluto entered Saturn. It happened in 2008 during the uh, financial boom, the housing
mm-hmm.
boom, the market. As soon as Pluto came in there, it blew up because they were just pumping money in there, money, and everybody was getting in debt. And then when Pluto first entered in, it was just like boom. And then everybody lost their homes. Everybody was back down where they were supposed to be
Yeah.
because they were not supposed to be giving those loans out anyway.
I was
They were
affected by one.
okay. See, they were like, oh yeah, sure, you can have money. You can,
Yeah.
and they gave these huge reports about how the housing market was just expanding and the times were so good. And it as soon as Pluto came in, it was like we're getting ready to dig up these foundations
Exactly. Lies.
and we're going to put everybody right back
Yeah.
where they're supposed to be. You
Exactly.
know good and damn well you couldn't afford $250,000 on a $45,000 a year salary.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to go back, and what does Saturn do? Do it all over
Do it
again.
all over again.
Rebuild that foundation all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So those people had to go back, they had to start over.
Yes.
There are no shortcuts.
Nope.
There are no shortcuts. This is the
Whew.
sad part about it is when you choose the monster, somebody has put in your ear or you put it in your ear. Come on, you can do this. You can have this. It's meant to be. It's here. If it's here, that means that you okay. But deep in your heart, in your subconscious, you know you haven't done the work.
Mm-hmm.
You have not made friends with Saturn. Saturn has said, you need to do this first.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do that second. You need to do that third. Have you checked the list? When we decide we're going to live this spiritual life, we think it's supposed to be magic.
Where did we get that from?
I don't know, but it is work.
It
It's work. And
is
it's
it?
an inside
It
job. It's
is.
an inside
Yes, it
job.
is.
And I always go back to weight.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're trying to lose weight and you say, I need to lose 20 pounds to get in a bathing suit by July.
Okay.
If you haven't changed your mindset, you're going to lose 20 pounds. You're going to get in your bathing suit by July. And then by September, you're going to have the 20 pounds back.
Plus.
Plus.
That's generally what
plus.
happens. Mm-hmm.
So if we have to do the work to lose 20 pounds, what makes us think we don't have to do the work to build these dreams that we say we want to build? To build the empire, to have the money, to have the relationship, now I'm not saying that it won't come easy, but it will come easy
Right.
after you do the work.
Absolutely.
And the work is not hard
No.
once you keep your eye on why you're doing it. When you first start a business, people say, what's your why?
Exactly.
Because they know if you keep your why in front of you, you'll say, oh, I don't mind doing this little extra step here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind doing this little extra. But what happens is when we do that step and we don't see any results, we forget our time is not the universe's time. And we're like, it's been 10 years.
Girl, we put on our tool belt. We start working again. We gonna fix it ourselves. Let me take a little bit of this and take this nail out and hammer that down. Oh yes. And it still goes back to that delusion, that illusion that we've been given because of what they said and whoever they is.
Right.
You know, that it's supposed to be that way. And then, as you said, Saturn and Pluto, they come in and they get the jackhammer and they start digging up all that foundation, because anything that's not on a firm foundation, it's not going to withstand, understand, out of stand, or anything. The thing is going to crumble.
That's right.
And it's just like you said with your 2019, the realities are crumbling because we didn't have firm foundations. I mean, and they're there. You don't tear the whole thing down.
Right.
You don't have to tear the whole thing down. It's just that this nail got to come out of here and put another screw there instead, you know, or this beam is kind of crooked over here and then it needs something to stand it up, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing. But when we are willing to allow these things to be, that's when it becomes easier.
It does.
But when the resistance is there, but the thing of it is being aware that the resistance is there. When we're not aware, that's why we have to do the deep down so that we can open ourselves up and become vulnerable at the place of the heart.
Now, when you said being aware of the resistance, that's very powerful, because I remember when I was trying to achieve things during my Saturn return, and I started coming upon all this information with Abraham. I discovered Abraham back when I was in my late 20s, and that was right around the time I was going through my Saturn return, and she kept talking about allow, allow, allow. And I was like, I'm allowing. I don't know what she's talking about, right? So I stopped listening to her. And I was like, I'm not listening to this because I'm allowing. I don't, you know, I was like, I was angry listening to her say that, because I'm like, who in their right mind would not allow money to come to them?
Oh my God.
Who in their right mind would not allow love to come to them? I'm allowing, you know. And I thought about it like 20 years later, when everything that was behind me seemed so far away and it was no longer important. I was resisting.
To the fullest, aren't we?
I was resisting. I was forcing. I was pushing. And I was angry. Mm-hmm. Because in my mind, life was not fair.
Exactly.
And I just didn't understand. You know, I had this whole thing going on back then where I was like, fight the power and life's not fair and, you know, whatever you you want, you got to take it by any means necessary. And that is resistance.
All day long.
And so that, of course, you know, the story was when I had my first asthma attack, and I was just like, you know, the devil is out. Oh, the devil was taking my breath away. The devil was doing all of that. I didn't do any of that.
No, none of it.
I was like, you know, stomp the devil out, and the devil is a liar. Oh my God.
Rebuking.
Rebuke. I rebuke.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I was resisting so bad. And my family members, they were just like, well, that's Candy. She's always been a little rebel, you know. And I'm like, that's right, I'm a rebel. I'm not really a rebel, come to think of it, because it's like a rebel without a cause is one of the worst things you can be, really, because you don't have a focus.
Well, you're just kicking up a lot of dust.
Yeah, and you're reacting. So I did everything out of reacting. Oh, you're going to do this? Well, I'm going to do that. Or you're going to do this? I'm going to. And I realized, okay, I got to focus. Then you forget what you really, really want. Yeah. Somebody says, well, what do you want? And then your shoulders go down, and then you gaze up and you realize, I don't even know. I'm just reacting.
Yeah.
So then you got to get back in touch with that.
Yes.
Okay. So the quicker that you can say, the devil is not against me. I have the love I'm supposed to have. Notice I said love, not lover.
Right.
I have the love I'm supposed to have. I have the money that I'm supposed to have right now. The money I have right now, the money you have right now, the money you have right now, it's matching our vibration, whether we want to admit that or not. So we have to let the universe feel the vibration that we're supposed to be having. Yes. Not focusing on the money, but focusing on the fullness of the joy. Exactly. Where we are now. Which brings me to Jupiter. Abundance. Okay, it took us a long time to get to Jupiter, and that's the best thing, right? It is. Well, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, which is all about temperance. Temperance is all about balance, which has the 2 cups here. Yes. It has the water, it has the land. You see that lush land and that clear water. So the balance between the emotions of what we love and the balance between the material things of what we want, and taking those desires and aligning them to a point where we're not, when I say want, I mean the soul's desire. I don't mean the want from the flesh, because that's unquenching, but our soul's desire. But the actual ruler, or the card that represents Jupiter, is the Wheel of Fortune. So the Wheel of Fortune comes, of course, after we've overcome the flesh, detached, after we've dealt with the things that we've hidden, judgment, after we understand how to balance ourselves out, think about it, after we come into our enlightenment, and then we come to terms with the things of what real love is all about. And if you look at that Wheel of Fortune, that goes around, and you have so much symbolism in that. And you have light and dark energies in here. And you have things that you have to go through in order to get to this Wheel of Fortune. So when we see the Wheel of Fortune in our card reading, what the Wheel of Fortune, if you want to put a word to it, is like, well done, thy good and faithful servant. So it's like, okay, the abundance is actually coming in whenever you see the Wheel of Fortune. Now, when we talk about time, because we always say, well, what's taking so long? Well, we never did. When we talk about the world card represents that 10th house.
Oh, yeah.
And it is the Saturn card. I didn't even bring the world card in. But that world card represents, and Saturn represents, and the 10th house represents this 3D reality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we're saying what's taking so long, it's like we're not taking into account that all of these energies are working together,
Exactly.
things that you're not seeing, this whole stuff that's, and I'm always back here
Yes.
because we're always looking here, but there's a whole background of energy that's working on our behalf.
Absolutely.
And we don't see it when we're so focused on saying, okay, I need the concrete evidence that this Wheel of Fortune is actually here. So when you see Wheel of Fortune and a reader says, oh, you're going to get this, and this is coming, and that's coming, it's like confirmation. You're like, I know that something is in the vortex and it's coming.
Exactly.
You can feel it.
Can.
You know it's
Yes,
coming.
You do. Mm-hmm.
Now, until it gets here, you occupy.
Absolutely. And you occupy by having the ability to discern, am I stuck in linear, which is external, which is everything? There's fires over here, there's floods over here, family members are needing this, and this race of people is shooting this race of people, and all of that is tied into that. And when it's not that we don't have empathy for it, you do. We're very compassionate when it comes to that, but we cannot get absorbed into that, because then we continue to add to the collective for it to keep going
That's
on.
right.
But when we shift our energies over to the purpose that we're here in the first place, and we're clear about that, because we're talking about clarity now. We've already gone through the delusion, and we've taken off the rose-colored glasses, and so we're now into the non-linear, into the space, into there's plenty, because there is no time in the non-linear at all. Right. So we don't have the clock ticking, but yet there is a clock ticking. Yet there is, because when you look at, we've shifted over now to Aquarius, and so that is their key word is I know. And they're the humanitarian. So here comes this rise of the humanitarian that's with us. And then when you talk about the Jupiter energy, that is really a wealthy place to be. It really is. So now when you think about the show, The Wheel of Fortune, and when people spin that wheel and it stops on bankrupt. But guess what? They get to spend it again.
You get to come back around to it. You get to come back around
You get to come back to it. And that reminded me when you were saying, when you were holding the card up and you was like, there's a lot going on with this Wheel of Fortune. There's some dark and there's some light. Being able to integrate the dark and the light and know that there's no difference between the two based on what we now know. We've been taught that there was. We were taught to be afraid of the dark. Even when people told us little scary stories, we put that back there. And so it became like a boundary for us. And now removing those, going into the dark, I have truly found, in the dark, I'm talking about within me, going deep down into the dark, it's not as scary as I thought it was or as I imagined. Because just because somebody tells me something, that's where I hold it right there. And what am I going to do with this? I get to choose. And the more I know that I can choose, then I'm making better choices. Even my decisions are different because I'm feeling what I feel before I want to appease.
Okay, that's right.
That's good.
And that keeps you from prematurely coming out of here when you
Yes,
need to be in yourself getting
exactly.
enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
So now you brought up, now we gotta pull this out. So now she's brought up the Aquarius, which is I know,
Mm-hmm.
and Mercury, the mind, is going into this. And it'll also be hitting retrograde in the middle of February to the middle of March. And the card that rules Mercury in particular is the Magician.
Ah,
Okay.
I like the magician card.
So when we talk about Mercury going into, I was going to say Gemini, we talk about Mercury going into Aquarius. Now we're really getting some help here because we're
Ooh-wee.
getting some genius ideas
Yes.
about how to move through this Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto conjunct. Well, it's not conjunct anymore like it was,
Right.
but in this house of Capricorn to take care of our business, to handle our business, to make our dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to the Mercury in Aquarius. I have Moon in Aquarius, and my Mercury is the ruler of my sign, which is Gemini, but my Mercury is in Taurus, conjunct Saturn. So I'm looking forward to the freedom that Aquarius is going to give my Mercury
Yeah.
so that I can literally kind of break out a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because my Mercury being in Taurus conjunct Saturn, it has caused me to be a little bit of an overthinker, as you can imagine. So I'm looking forward to Aquarius pushing my mind out there, you know.
Yes.
And my even though my mind goes out there anyway, because my moon is in Aquarius, my mind will go out there and then I'll immediately bring it back in and
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, Candy, you just went too far. Bring it on back
Yeah.
in. But I'm looking forward to it going out there and just hanging out.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is because when we think about Aquarius, that's the astrologer's mind.
Mhm.
They make
Mhm.
wonderful astrologers. And so then think about it with Mercury, the writing energy.
That's right.
This is a good time if you're not journaling. This is a good time to start it.
Yes, it
And
is.
if you are journaling, it magnifies and intensifies when we let that energy work through. And so it's like, when you're listening to a good newscast and the journalist is telling us, it draws you in.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so this is a time when the universe can draw us in and bring that skill set to
Right.
to a divine intelligence where
Mhm.
we can communicate clearly and people don't have to wonder about what we're saying. And then when it goes into that retrograde stage, it's saying, all right, now we were at exponential
Yeah,
speed,
we were at a
and yeah,
thousand miles per
woo,
hour. Now we get ready to
fast. So
pull it
we
on
say, now
back.
bring it on back, like you see them spaceships, they be bringing the
Right.
steering wheel back. Bring it on back so that you can really now sit back and take a look at
Mhm.
all of this faster and see where you've gotten to. And I believe when we do those things, then we look back and be like, well, dang, I did this, I did that.
Right.
And you don't even know how it got done, but you look and it is done because they're frontier.
That's
It's
right.
all in the mind, and when the mind, the brain, and all of that is agreeing, because Aquarius, when they detach, that's a good thing. This is a good
Mhm.
time, like to
Yeah.
detach, and it's also a good time for developing networks.
Right.
That's what networks about.
Right.
Because with my Aquarius, I don't have anything in it except for it's in my ninth house.
Okay.
So again,
That's good
it
though.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And see, my Mercury is in Taurus, but it's in the second house, but it's in Leo.
Okay.
So your Mercury, honey, I'm always talking. And I like
Mhm.
it. I used to tell myself, you talk too much. No, then that suppresses again.
Right.
That's because somebody else told me that I
Mhm.
love talking, and so these lips gonna keep on going. Communication is vital.
Yes, it is.
Hmm.
Yes, I think that's about, we've exhausted all of this, which is
Wow.
wonderful.
Okay.
We got to talk about the North Node and the South Node. North Node being in Capricorn is going to really help with the things that you want to do in the future.
Yes.
With the South Node being in Cancer, this is all about bringing up your past and things that may be holding you back. It's about also paying life's debts, anything
Hmm.
that you need to go back and take care of. Um, do that. Also represents the moon and any of your emotional stuff that
Yes.
comes up. Let Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn kind of help you clean that up and look at it objectively.
Yes.
This is a time where you can look at your past like a movie and not
Mm.
so subjectively, not take it so personal, because
Right.
it is in the Cancer of, I feel, in the sign of Cancer, which is Deborah's sign. It's my rising and my Venus is in Cancer. And so that's ruled by the Chariot card,
Mm.
and which is all about victory, moving forward. It's also about making decisions and being able to move in those decisions. It's
Yes.
also the moon card is a part of that. And then we have the High Priestess, which is about esoteric knowledge, going deeper inside of yourself, going to the dark spaces of yourself that you've always been afraid to go in order to get the deepest possible truth that you can possibly find. So that energy, you go back to your South Node on that in order to get that. So those are your gems from the South Node with the High Priestess. So if there's something that you want to do in your life purpose going forward, don't be afraid to go back, dive deep
Yes.
into your past. There's some gems there, pull them up, and then leave what you can't take with you and take with you what you need and move on into the future.
Yes.
And that's that. And I think this has just been a wonderful discussion about the energies. I'm
I
looking forward to
agree.
doing it again.
Thank you.
The next
Yes.
time we do it, we're going to talk about probably something more specific. This was just a general overview of some of our planets that are a little bit further away. They're going to be where they are for a while, so we don't have to like go over this. But there's some other things that are coming up, like the Mercury retrograde, that we may be able to talk about,
Okay.
kind of help people through that for those who are interested. And
Yes.
until next time, reconstruct the world by reconstructing your mind. I know you can do it. Bye.
Bye.